peeves, I guess, with their traditional arts are some of the exercises that they do and some of the drills, because they create incredibly unhealthy bad habits. So what is the one drill that I absolutely abhor, that I will not do at any cost, is horse stance and punches. And the reason is because it teaches the wrong idea about standing and punching, making yourself a big target and being off center and everything like that. But also it teaches no defense whatsoever, and it actually inhibits the body mechanics to punch correctly with power. So even though karate guys will argue that they can punch plenty powerful, they also don't go up against boxers frequently. And that's one thing that we learned from MMA when MMA got mixed with the traditional styles, was what is effective and what is not effective. And the bad thing that can happen with traditional stylists is they can be so stubborn about sticking to tradition, even when faced with a lot of evidence that maybe some of the habits that they've got are ineffective and do not work in a real confrontation against somebody who knows what they're doing. So horse stance and punches, hate it. And I suggest for people to never do it. Now, if you're a student and you're going to a traditional class and they have you do it, okay, do it as an exercise, work on your cardio, but it does not teach you how to punch correctly. It's not the stance to punch out of. It teaches really poor habits when it comes to defense, when it comes to body mechanics. And the good aspects of it are carried over to other exercises when you're working with punching and body mechanics. When people begin punching, if you're in a traditional style, they teach this technique a lot, where you're in a horse stance and you're doing this drill. So what's good out of this is that the force pulling back gives you force pressing out. You use one to accelerate the other, and that helps a whole lot. What's bad about this is you need to rotate the shoulders a little bit around the axis of the spine, so that if this arm is punching, this shoulder is in front of the spine. If you stay squared and you're doing this, you're just teaching yourself arm punching. But you need to rotate so that you get torque in the whole spine, which is difficult to do out of horse stance. It's one of my big arguments why to never do horse stance and punches. The other big argument is traditional stylists are notorious for not having head movement, and they get hit in the head very easily. Another characteristic of the traditional martial arts that makes their head extremely vulnerable in a confrontation is stuff like this. Chambering the punch at the chest and punching straight out. There's no defensive movements whatsoever. So defensive movements should be prevalent all the time, like in boxing. And for good body mechanics, you want one foot in front of the other, like boxing. So I do static stances, like a modified bow stance or a modified fighting stance, to work the legs, but to get the body mechanics into it as well. So you get the spine rotation, the shoulders pushing out as you're striking, but you don't have to worry as much in a confrontation or a sparring match about your opponent just devastating you to the head constantly, because you're building good foundational skills by getting defense up to the head, and with the rotation being able to get in some head movement as well. So be aware, no matter what your traditional stylist teacher is telling you, be aware, keep an open mind, and practice a variety of things to find out what works and what's effective. Pressure test it, give it some resistance with partners, and if you're getting hit in the head all the time, find something that works.